It's March 26, 2024, 7 o'clock. We will start the Conservation Commission meeting for Halifax. It's being recorded by Area 58 and can be viewed on YouTube. It is also can be seen on Zoom. So for our first hearing, it was on 0 Laurel Street and 0 Thompson Street, Maryland's Landing. It's an INRAD continued hearing, and there was a request to continue it to April 9th. If I want to make a motion for that.
Sure, I can make a motion to continue the hearing for 0 Laurel Street and 0 Thompson Street to April 9th at 7 p.m.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so it's going to be 7 p.m. April 9th. And then the second thing on the agenda was 8 Hilda Lane. And it was Webby Engineering is waiting for natural heritage determination. So they asked that we continue this also to April 9th at 7:10 p.m. Anyone wants to make a motion for that?
I put a motion that we continue in 8 Hardin Lane to April 9th, 7:10 p.m.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then the third on our agenda was 266 Montponset Street. It was for the stormwater management permit application. And I know at our last meeting, we had asked them to delineate the parcel. They have since asked if they could withdraw without prejudice and then resubmit at a later date. They had some issues, I believe, with another. So I make a motion to
Accept the withdrawal.
Yeah.
I put a motion that we accept the withdrawal to a further date without prejudice for 266 Montponset Street.
I'll second that motion.
And all in favor?
Aye.
And then, let's see.
Does it have to be at 7:30 or does it's under discussions?
It's under discussions. I don't know if, let's see, if we did 285 Home Street, is Attorney Hexam available now, or? I mean, I could come on to 7.
Yeah, we can bounce around.
Okay. So we have 25 minutes. Should we do go to Pasture Lane or do this? What do you think?
We can just, yeah, whatever you would
Okay,
choose
well,
to start.
so the next thing then was conversation was for the talent bank form. So we had an application from Alan Diaz. And is Alan here? Hi. There. So thank you for the application. And does anybody on the board have any questions for Al? Or maybe you can speak and let us know why you're interested in coming on the
I
board.
do know some members of the board. I'm a 46-year resident of the town. I've been an excavating contractor for about 35 years. I've seen the last year or so what the board has gone through, the turmoil, the complaints and whatnot. And you guys are volunteers, and I don't think you really should have to go through what you've been through. But I do have some strengths in stormwater management and excavating. So I thought that I would try to lend my experience to the board for about a year or so. I'm in a position where I'm trying to retire, all right? But stormwater management is important. I don't believe we're up to date in stormwater management with all the regulations. So I think I can be a plus for the board.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Any questions from either members?
Any experience on any other boards you have been on or anything?
Oh, yes, yeah. Through my career, I started back in 1980 on the Mosquito Control Commission. I was on the bylaw study committee twice. Been on the Board of Health 6 years. Been on the planning board for 1 year. Okay. I do have extensive soil experience. And I have in the past for clients, participated in delineation of wetlands. So I know, you need a certain percentage of species, certain percentage of soils in order to be determined for wetlands. But let me just point one thing out, that I'm not a tree hugger per se, all right? And I try to use a scientific approach to making decisions. I mean, because we're making decisions for our neighbors and our friends, so.
Okay, I have a couple questions. So, you are not retired as of yet. So do you see any conflicts of interest potential conflicts of interest with your general contracting business that you have now and being a member of this board that does make decisions regarding?
No, because I haven't worked in Halifax. I've only worked a couple of jobs in Halifax in the last 10 or 12 years. I don't anticipate doing any heavy, extensive excavation. So the answer to that question is no.
Okay. My other question is, so I see it as our job is to protect the environment. I would say I am a tree hugger. And I also see it as enforcing the bylaws, and the part of the bylaws are the 100-foot buffer zone around the wetlands and not allowing building or development within that 100-foot buffer zone unless it comes before the board for approval and the applicant can prove that they are not affecting the hydrology. Do you agree with that, or do you see that differently?
I agree with 100 foot, okay? Some towns are 150 foot, all right? And I believe that if you're doing anything within that 100 foot, then you should file, whether it be an NOI or an IDA. I have a little problem with the 50-foot no disturb. 50-foot no disturb is in most towns. Sometimes it makes it a little difficult for contractors to come in and complete projects without waivers in the 50. Have I ever gone into the 50? I don't believe so. But yeah, I believe 100%. We need a place for water to go when it rains. Okay? We've got about 2,600 acres of swamp and bogs in Halifax. And if we destroy those areas, we're going to be flooded. So the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience have any questions? Okay, would you like to take a vote?
Sure.
If we want to,
Well, it's a recommendation. Obviously, the selectmen make the
yeah, to
decision.
the selectmen.
We don't make the decision.
No, but we can send a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen.
All right, I put a motion that we put a vote on Mr. Alan Diaz to be a board member on the conservation.
I would be in favor of that.
I'm going to abstain because I am too new to really have experience and know for sure
Okay.
how I should vote on this, so I'm going to abstain.
It's just a recommendation
It's
to
a
the...
recommendation, so we
I
wouldn't be making
don't
the
know enough to
decision.
recommend, or
Okay.
not.
Okay.
All right. So we'll send a recommendation to them. We will see you soon. Thank you.
I'll sit in, I'd like to sit in.
Yeah, thanks. And the next thing then is the 5 Pasture Lane. Somebody here for that? Hi.
So, it's my neighborhood, and I'm also the real estate agent.
Okay.
This is a potential buyer. The question was if they would purchase the property, would they be able to put it? As
Yes.
a real estate agent in the neighborhood, I have told them, I am within the 100-foot buffer. I came before the board, filed a notice of intent, did the delineation of my property. It's the same exact line. So I brought the plan.
You know, I think I did look at it prior to the meeting, and it looked like yours was within the 100, but outside of the 50. This one here, it looks like it would have to be within the 50, if they would put a pool in. Have the maps in here. Okay, so this one is
is already cleared.
There. And so this is the wetland line. This is the 50-foot here.
Yeah, so they would be,
They'd be outside the
Yeah.
50, but they'd still be within the 100-foot.
right, so they would have to do the legwork that I did just to
Yeah.
make sure, but it would be right near the house.
But any excavating would be close to the 50-foot.
It would, you'd have to do, their buffer line and their silt fence and everything else, and I'm sure that their contractor would be very versed in that.
Spoken to anyone on specific plans, just kind of trying to get an idea of what's.
Yeah, is it even
feasible.
possible?
Yeah.
Right.
I can share my stance. I just stated it, basically.
Yeah.
So I feel that if you're going to go within that 100-foot buffer zone, the onus of responsibility is on the applicant to prove to us that the hydrology will not be impacted. And that hasn't really been happening in front of this board that I'm aware of, really. A lot of people come to us and ask us what to do. And I think that's sort of backwards. It should be that you're telling us what you plan to do.
Yep.
And then we can look at that, and if you've proven that you have, that you're not going to, or your client is not going to impact the hydrology by replacing, replicating, engineering, environmental engineering, however they're planning on doing that, you come to us and show us that.
So
And
that-
then
that's
we
the
can vote
intent
favorably.
once they purchase, but they just kind of wanted to get an idea before they purchase, is it even possible? If they don't want to go ahead and buy this property and then decide, there's nothing at all we can do with it. As I told him, what I did was we went to land planning, we had them come up with a plan so that they could show all that information, because they developed this to begin with anyway. So they know all the boundaries, they know where the houses were and everything else. So my guess would be land planning or some, whoever you choose, would come before you with that, with the delineation, with the notice of intent. But we just wanted to find out, before they even put in an offer, would it be possible, looking at this, within the 50-foot, if we did the correct measures?
Within the 50, if it's in the 50, I'm against this. honestly.
It's
I would say
not,
that.
yeah, the 50's here, so they'd be here,
It's
right next
just-
to the house.
yeah, It's just awfully close.
We can't say yes or no until we see the plans, like Melanie said. Like, what's gonna happen, where's the water gonna go, how are you gonna drain it, where all that, what's gonna be affected in the area. So we can't say, oh, yeah, definitely. If we say that now, then we say, oh, we look at the plan, we're against it.
No, I know you can't give a hard and fast explanation. I was kind of just curious. I mean, if it's the type of thing that is common enough, like the typical landscape architect in the area would know what to expect, like what you're looking for. Like you said, how it affects the hydrology. To me, obviously, I don't know what that really means, but I would hope that there's at least pretty, reliable resources that we could use that should know at least what you guys would expect. Is that a reasonable assumption, or is it just totally you've seen all sorts of some people? Think
Yeah, some people say this, and then we
Yeah.
get the plans, it's totally different.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, until we see the plans itself, you can't really say yay and nay, and I'm sorry to put you in that position, you would think about buying a house. Oh, if you don't get approved, we're not gonna buy the house. I'm like, well, that's your decision.
And is it just in terms of like the final result, or you mentioned like excavate, like if they have to move around to make that happen, is that still like damaging?
That would be damaging.
Okay,
both
so
areas,
gotcha.
yes.
They would
Okay.
have to
That's
stay
why
out
I'm
of
thinking
there.
we're
Yeah.
so close to the 50
Okay.
that they might have to go inside of that.
Okay.
They
So-
may not have to, but just my feeling that they might.
So they couldn't go into this area in order to make a pool, basically, or you're worried they would just end up going too
Right.
far and actually go into the wetlands?
You wouldn't want them to go disturb that area
Yeah,
at all.
oh yeah. Okay, so this, I think somebody mentioned a no disturb.
No touch, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so within that 50 basically says you can't do anything. Okay. And is that true just in general, 50 feet of wetland? So like, this was, okay, so this was also like, right now trees, so you couldn't even take down trees to like, not even bring in fill or anything, but take down that to try to make a yard or anything like that, or is that what you mean by?
Inside the 50, yeah, no touch. Like, the trees, when people want to move trees in the 50, they have to show it's going to make damage to the house or property. Usually we don't like people moving trees in the 50 at all.
Gotcha. Okay.
There are exceptions, but yeah, it's mostly if there's risk of damage to the property because of a tree that's dying.
Dead or
Gotcha.
ready.
Okay.
Huh?
Well, thank you for explaining. Appreciate it.
No problem at all. Good luck
Thank you for
decision.
coming in. Next one is, so, next one is 550 Monpont Street. And that one was,
That was a complaint, was
there
it?
was a complaint.
It was a complaint that I received. Yeah.
Yes, I know that one of the admins, Peggy, did reach out to them, and they were, they did agree to keep the equipment 100 feet away from the wetland line, and for covering it, they were questioning as far as putting the tarp on it with the wind. They were wondering if we'd be okay if they put, or they sprayed it with, what was it they wanted to spray it with?
Well,
Hydro mulch, because they felt that the sand on the top would just fly off. So, and they.
where's that pile of dirt? Is it
It's-
near the lake?
It's,
near the
I'm not even
lake?
sure, I haven't
It
driven
is,
by it.
and I'm curious about that, because with the RDA, it looked like they were not going to be having equipment in that area to be, and filling anything in that area. So the work, to my understanding, was going to be mostly in the driveway. So I'm not sure why the equipment is there in the first place, the excavation equipment and the sand in the first place, because my understanding was that they were doing a boardwalk or replacing a boardwalk in that area and not excavating and filling. So I'm not sure why it's there to begin with. I'm not the one who made the complaint, I just received the complaint, but I'm a little curious of why that is down there instead of up in the parking lot to begin with.
I know they're going to.
Are they digging holes? I have no idea. It's the old restaurant there,
Yeah.
making a
I have to
winding.
look at the RDA and see exactly what they said they were doing again.
I know they were doing some work around that area, like, okay, I think it was mostly landscaping, and they said something about a walkway to the,
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was going to be above ground, and so it wasn't going to be clearing any of the vegetation there. It was going to be going over it, to my understanding. Perhaps I'm misunderstanding, and like I said, I should probably read the RDA again to understand, but, so the equipment was down on the water, the sand, I'm not sure if them spraying it, it would have to be something that they're spraying it would have to be safe.
yeah, for the,
Right.
Sprayed
within the,
around a pond, and I'm not sure what it is they're saying they're spraying it with. But at least they've moved the equipment up to the parking lot. But it does bring up the question of why the equipment was down there in the first place, for me. And
Okay, I didn't bring the file with us tonight, I don't believe.
No.
We could continue it till the next hearing, and then we could look into that.
I would like to,
Okay.
yeah.
why don't
understand more.
we, two of us make a site visit,
Yeah, we could
because
do
it's in the,
that too.
Just
Other
check
on
it
this weekend, or if either of you want to go before that.
obviously Sunday is Easter, Saturday I can,
Oh, no.
that's the only day I can do
Saturday?
it.
Sure, you want to do it Saturday?
Yeah,
We
like
can
10 or
reach out to
11.
them and, yeah, I
Yeah.
should check to see, anybody here for 5:50? No, okay. But we can contact them and see if we can go down on Saturday then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh.
Anything else on that one, Melanie?
No, I don't think so. That would be perfect. If I just curious why it was there in the first place,
Yeah.
because it did not sound, from my understanding of the RDA, that they were going to be doing something to that extent, so.
And then 40 Old Summit Street, you went out there, Ed, and spoke with the
The builder, yes.
the builder.
Yeah, it's in the vicinity of my home, so I'm somewhat a little concerned about the woods being cut and everything else. But he showed me his lot, but he has to take down 2 decent-sized trees, 2 pine trees, which he wish he didn't have to, but that's where the house is going. So that's not within the 100 or whatever, so it's where the house is being built. He says, I'll be by to check on the tree removal. They're gonna put the silt fence after the tree removal because it would just get run over with the machinery. I'll keep my close eye on that
And
project.
they're gonna call it, they're gonna contact us when the silk fencing's up.
Yeah, and I'll go by again, make sure everything's
Okay.
fine.
Sounds good. Anything you on that one?
No,
Okay. And
not at this
then
time.
48 Elm Street, you had reached out to DEP
Yes.
and found out that it was considered, it was ponded.
Yes, so the river, because of the impact of the dam, the nearby dam, the representative from the DEP that I spoke with referred to it as ponded. So therefore, it falls under the same regulations as a pond, and I believe I forwarded that email to
You
you.
did, thank you.
Okay. So that was the outcome of that from my looking into it with the
Thank
DEP.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a little misleading, I think, for some people, saying this is a river when a stream, and it wasn't. We did due diligence.
And
I
we
hate
did-
to have the person put the foundation down, and after the fact, we're going after them, it looked like almost, so.
Yeah.
I'm glad we straightened out in a couple of days, I think, right?
we
Yeah,
did.
and I don't, and it is a river technically, it's just what the criteria
Yeah.
is that they use is not always intuitive. So it's moving water, but it's the rate at which it's moving.
Yeah.
The impact of the dam can affect that, and it can create if it's a dammed river, it can fall
Yeah, water's
under the
going where it wants to
criteria of
go.
a pond because it's now slow moving because of the impact of the dam, was my understanding.
Yeah.
So that's what I learned.
Let's see. And then we have Fuller Street, that was illegal dumping complaint, and it looks like the highway department went over there, and it was actually, it was on the Halifax Plimpton line, but it looked like it might have been in Middleborough, so it wasn't in Halifax. And then 471 Monpont Street was the complaint about the trash appliance junk buildup on the property. And I know we had voted to send a certified letter last meeting, and the admin is still working on that letter, so it hasn't been sent yet.
Okay.
So we'll give that over until the next meeting since it hasn't been sent out.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was here for Home Street. I thought it was on 30.
Oh. It is 265 Home Street?
That's correct.
265.
Yeah, we need to discuss it yet. Yeah.
285.
We'll wait till 7:30.
That's all right. We were getting through a few other things first, but 285 Home Street. We have a couple more minutes. Let's see. Bills, if
Yeah.
anybody wants to,
I put a motion that we approve the bills.
I'll second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
And then we have meeting minutes for January 23rd. Are they over there, or are they in here? Let me see if I have them. Meeting minutes, I have them. There you go. I'll make a motion to accept them.
Oh. Where's the bills?
Hmm? Oh, we didn't pay the bills, did we?
No, we didn't sign that one. Well, if it's not here, we'll sign it another time.
What does she have in here? Fuller Street, Fuller Street. Maybe not. Give us a reason to come into
The building.
the building.
Melanie, you want to see the minutes for the 23rd?
Oh, sure, I'll see them.
What? Before we put a motion on approval.
Okay.
No, we didn't discuss that yet. We have another-
I did try to speak to him earlier, but I don't think he heard me.
Rich, can you hear okay? I can hear you. I'm not able to hear the board members.
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear me now?
Maybe
How about now?
if you could maybe speak into the microphones and speak, loudly.
Hello?
I'm having trouble understanding what you're saying.
How about now? Can you hear that?
I could hear you, but it's hard for me to understand what you're saying.
That's not good. Where's Caesar?
I'm looking at these minutes.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right, let me just get this one. Motion, please.
Sure.
Motion to approve the minutes for January 23rd.
I'll second that motion.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's done.
That sounds a lot louder.
Louder.
Yeah.
Okay. Is the volume any better now?
Yes, for us.
Yeah. Let's see. There, are you able to hear us now?
Yeah, I can kind of barely just understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Hear you and understand. So the louder you can talk and the more clearly, the better. I appreciate it.
Okay. Okay, so. All right, so being 7:30, open 285 Home Street. It was flooding, water runoff, and tree removal complaint. And Attorney Huxham, Town Council, is attending via Zoom. And do we have anybody here for that? Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right, and that was, would you like to speak up, come up to the mic?
I'm here on behalf of the property owner. He couldn't attend. My name is Ann Sobolewski. I'm their attorney.
Okay. So we had gotten a complaint that there had been some clearing of land.
There's been no clearing of land on this property since June of 2021. The property has achieved site plan review. They got site plan approval for the existing addition on the back of the property in June of 2021. I can show you an aerial photograph. There's been no clearing on this property since then. The rear of the property is gravel, and it's been that way during that entire period of time. The only thing that has not happened that was approved on the site plan from the planning board is the front portion of the parking lot has not been paved. So it's currently a pervious surface and not an impervious surface. There are no impervious surfaces on the property.
Yeah.
We went out, I contacted my wetlands consultant, Dave Gordon. I believe he's appeared before the board before, at least he said he has. There are no wetlands on this piece of property. He went out, he took a look. We are in the process of obtaining a new tenant for the property, and when that happens, we're going to file a new site plan review application for the new use of the property. And in that context, we have an engineer that is looking at some additional stormwater management for the property to potentially address this issue, because there isn't anything, but at the moment, it is an entirely graveled surface. And
Yeah. Do you know when the current owner purchased the property?
in 2020,
Because we have aerial views of the property in 2020 where it was fully, it had trees.
right, part of the site plan approval was for the property to have the gravel yard, right? And all of that was completed, and the building was expanded.
Okay, so there was a,
October 2021. This is the property line. There are no trees
Right.
on this property.
Right.
It complies with the site plan approval for the site from June of 2021.
okay.
This is the site.
So they-
approval,
they-
the gravel yard, the existing tree line, This is the current condition of the property. This is an existing conditions plan that was prepared in connection with the potential tenant. It has not yet been submitted. It's the same thing. It's gravel, that's the tree line. Nothing has happened in the back of the property with respect to trees since the site plan review.
I guess the thing was before the site plan review, it was fully vegetated in trees.
And I guess the question is, the site plan review shows it as a gravel yard. There are no wetlands on this piece of property. Your stormwater management regulations weren't adopted until
Correct.
after this happened.
Yes.
So there was no prohibition on the tree removal at that point in time.
Thank you. Yeah. Did you have any questions?
Yeah, I was concerned about the trees, obviously, and
Right.
we were told that there was tree removal. And
We have the
the
photo
area.
of, but she's saying that it was approved that they could take the trees down. Well, you didn't have to come before us because there were no wetlands.
Right. I mean, I can appreciate that there are some issues with runoff at the front of the property, and that's one of the reasons why my engineer is looking at some additional stormwater management structures for the front of the property. At the same time, I will say there is no pavement on here. It's all pervious surface. It's all gravel. So to the extent that there's water runoff, I mean, we can address that situation, but when I was at the planning board a couple of weeks ago to talk about the complaints that have been made about the use of the property, I observed them talking about other site plan reviews where they were promoting pervious surfaces. So I don't know if there's going to be a continued requirement to pave that front of the property or not. I think we would recommend probably that it actually not be paved, and that would allow more water to infiltrate. One of the things that my wetland scientist who came out to the property said is he was doing some additional research on the site, and he's wondering, maybe the conditions of the soil at the front of the property have been very compacted from uses over time. And that's certainly something that we can look at as well when we design some stormwater management structures. But we're not at that point yet. We don't have a tenant ready to file site plan review. So it's an opportunity for us to, navigate that from an engineering perspective and then present something in that context that might address some of these runoff issues.
Do you have any other questions?
Is there any way you can correct the runoff water situation now before the plan? Because it is impacting the watershed across the street. So we'd rather have it addressed as soon as possible, the runoff water. If you can contain that now, that'd be
I mean, I can talk to the engineer about it. Maybe we can put in some kind of temporary berm or something. I don't know whether that's going to, address the situation completely. I think the water seems to be coming off of the elevated area adjacent to the property and then running down through the front into the road. At least that's what it looked like from the images that I've seen. But I could certainly talk to them about maybe coming up with some sort of temporary berm or something like that. I don't know whether that's then gonna sort of shift the water.
well, that's what the engineer's for. You can usually figure out a way to
Yeah,
correct the issue.
I can certainly ask them if they can design something like that. I have no problem with that.
I would just recommend not suggesting it's a berm and just asking them to try to alleviate the issue and seeing what they come up with. And I do like the idea of keeping it unpaved. That sounds sensible. And I think that should probably stay that way until this is resolved rather than add more runoff.
Is it possible for you to do a stormwater management for the property right now as it is? Or are you waiting for everything to be planned out, what's going there, and let's go that route?
It doesn't, based on my conversation with the engineer, it doesn't necessarily make sense for him to design something in theory where he can design something based on how somebody's going to actually use it. But we're very close to that point. It's not going to take a terribly long time. I think we're pretty close. So.
Attorney Hexum, did you have any questions or concerns?
Again, it's been very difficult for me to hear everything that's being said, so excuse me if I'm like repeating anything that's already been dealt with, but, so I guess I have a question. Is it true that the site plan approval from the planning board had some measures in it involved with like either stormwater or control of water on the site? And are those, if that's true, are those measures being taken? Because I think I heard one of the members mention that there's water flowing off the site. I mean, I've seen pictures of that where water appears to be flowing off the site, and that appears to be a violation of the commission's regulations under the stormwater bylaw. And so I wonder whether that's something that the site plan approval measures would help with.
The site plan approval mentions stormwater controls during construction of the addition of the building, which happened, the building was completed as of October 2021. It also mentions, that when the front gets paved, to ensure the pavement is arced up to try and stop water from flowing off. But again, we haven't paved it, so we haven't done that yet. But we will be including, I've given the engineer your stormwater regulations, and he's got them, and he's drawn that preliminary plan, which doesn't include it yet. So please don't take that plan to heart. That's purely preliminary. It's more of an existing conditions plan. And he is looking at it, and when we submit, we will submit something to address what seems to be a very concerning issue for the commission and the town.
Yeah. Can you give us an idea of when you think that will be submitted?
I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks, but I can't say for sure because engineering schedules, I can't control them. So we're looking at this spring, if not, June, maybe at the latest, I would think. But again, I don't have a response back from my engineer as to when he's going to be able to give me plans, so I can't tell you for sure.
Any other questions? Oh, sorry.
Any
No, I don't have
questions,
any
the audience? No. This we could give you this is what, March?
End of March.
Have them come back in like 2 meetings?
Maybe end of April. We'll maybe continue this to the end of April. That would be,
What was that?
let's see, it's in here. April 9th, but it would be the next meeting.
April 23rd.
Yeah. So we'll have you come back on April 23rd, if that's okay?
That's fine.
All right. All right, thank you. Yeah, and thank you. Yeah. All right. And I think that's it, if anybody has any other questions or concerns.
I'd like to bring up that we did receive an email that is not on the agenda, that someone wanted to follow up on a previous complaint that they had, and I was just wondering if we can try to put in follow-up old business in our agendas going forward so that we make sure that we're keeping people abreast of where
Yeah.
progress
We
is.
could look into that, or we could just make sure we put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Maybe that would be, because I know, if you think of anything that's not on it, like when we put it, when Peggy makes it and puts it out to us, if you notice anything else you want on it, we could also do that.
This
When you're looking at
particular
it.
one, the email came in after the agenda was already made.
Yeah.
So, and I know
that
we
would
can't
have to
discuss
wait.
things if they're not on the
Right.
agenda, so just, I'm thinking of, for us to try to think of what we need to follow up on in advance of the agenda, so that we're touching base and not leaving anybody wondering where we stand.
Yeah, that's a thought. Thanks.
Yeah, maybe better communication to say, oh, someone brought this up. Hopefully you can get it on the
Or if we
agenda.
know that it's something that we want to discuss, we can always put it on.
Put it on, we could just
Yeah,
go
All right.
past it if nothing new comes about.
right.
I have a
Okay. Excuse me?
question. Was the correspondence
And you are? I'm sorry, I
I'm
just
sorry,
heard
Amy
that.
Drew, 10 Hillside Ave. Was the correspondence received over the last few weeks where it will be considered under correspondence on the agenda?
Yeah.
Melanie, did you receive it within the last couple of weeks since the last meeting?
It was just received after the agenda was already made, so
But I think
yesterday,
we-
I believe it
yeah.
was.
I think we are going to put it on the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Motion to adjourn, unless there's anything else.
Let's get the bills,
We did the bills.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything else on the agenda. I put a motion that we adjourn?
And
Can I ask one more question?
Oh, sure, go ahead,
Sorry.
sure.
If there's somebody in the audience that does have a concern that isn't on the agenda, is there time on the agenda for that, for
no, it would just be anything that's on our agenda.
public comments, I think is what I was
Yeah.
thinking of? Because a lot of boards do have time for public comments on their agenda.
We haven't done that, and again, I think what you're talking about, we are putting it on the next meeting.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, so,
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.